Hello, so this is going to be a video on the GP-9 or PPM-88, which was basically the last generation of Soviet gas mask or respirator as far as I'm aware. Now, this is actually quite westernised in a sense for a Soviet design. What I mean by that is previously a lot of the Soviet masks were the helmet style masks, the shum type masks if I'm pronouncing that right, as Vladimir was correcting me on the stream the other week. You know, like the sort of Shum 41 and, you know, all the GP5 style masks where they were the kind of idea being a latex hood. You put it over your head and then, you know, it pulls tight on that design. Then later near the end of the Soviet Union you had like the PMK1 and the GP7, which tried to be westernised, and I think they really failed because they were sort of made to too low a standard but had too complex features. The Soviet masks that are really good are the ones that were very simple in design and, you know, very functional. And when the Soviets tried to make more complex masks without going to a higher quality standard, they didn't really work. But the GP-9, however, or PPM-88, seems to be, you know, where they've actually kind of made a westernised mask that's made to a very good standard. There's little bits here and there that I could complain about, but overall it's actually very good. Now, it has a similar sort of, you'll notice, sort of inner seal, peripheral seal to the GP7 and PMK1, however it's much better in this mask. It's also, as you can see, got an oral-nasal cup in it, which means it doesn't fog up horribly like a GP7 and a PMK1. Now, the oral-nasal cup in this mask is actually removable, so if you don't want it in there, it comes off on the peg, which is a really nice feature. So you've got a panoramic lens, you've got your voice diaphragm there, and you've got your exhale valve just underneath there. This little plastic cover doesn't sit on mine very well, but apparently somebody was telling me on my Discord server that there's meant to be a screw on there, but a lot of the models are missing it, or it's fallen off, or snapped off, or whatever. So you can see this is a size 2 one. It was actually made in 2007 because the Russian Federation still makes this mask. I believe there's actually a more modern variant of it now with a few extra features on, but for the most part the design hasn't changed all that much. Why the voice diaphragm is on the side and not the front, I don't know. However, this mask does seem to be a good design. So that's what it looks like if you were looking through it. As you can see, fairly good sort of field of view and everything. The field of view isn't brilliant though, like a lot of these panoramic masks have a problem with, because, you know, the actual lens sits too far away from your face. What you'll notice on more modern panoramic lens masks, they seem to have finally got the idea that, you know, the closer the lens is to your eye, the better you'll see out of it. Another feature that's obviously on more modern panoramic lens masks is they generally make a clear silicone oral-nasal cup. The reason being is then the oral-nasal cup doesn't cut your vision off as much because you can still see through it even if it's slightly blurry, as opposed to just having a black one that, you know, cuts off all your vision or any solid colour rubber. So it's got a GP7K filter, as you can see on there, what looks like RN in English, which obviously that's Russian or Cyrillic for GP, 7K. This one was made in '92, apparently, the filter. Now, as much as I'd say never breathe through one of these filters, I'm going to do it just because, as you can see on the GP7 filters, and the PMK style filters, they've actually got a much better kind of particulate filter at the top. So even if there is asbestos in this filter, which I suspect there might be, in theory it can't really come out the top. You know, it's better than the cotton wool that's in a GP5 filter. So let me get the rubber seal off of this, and I've just, whoops, pulled that off again. You can see this is a very similar kind of cover to the Israeli civilian masks. I could actually use the mask fine without that on, it will still work completely well. Obviously it's just there to protect the thing, but let's get this off. There we go. So, as you can see, the bit that would be the asbestos layer, if that's actually even visible on the camera, because I can see it with my eye, but I don't know how well the camera would pick it up, would be that bit just at the edge of the filter there. So it looks exactly the same as what's in the GP5, so I'm going to assume that's asbestos, but as said, it's got the better particulate layer on the other end. I wouldn't recommend breathing through these filters, but, you know, I'm a person who makes videos on gas masks, and I'm aware of the risks, and I'm going to take it, because I'm a bit of an idiot, but, you know, it's my livelihood. So let's put that back on there. So yeah, overall this is a good mask, so I'm going to put it on and give you sort of my impressions. The straps are the only thing I don't really like on it. Like the GP7 and PMK straps are a bit of an annoyance to adjust, but they seem solid enough. Basically what you want to do is get the straps into a position you like it and then just keep them there. because it's obviously a bit stretchy, you can stretch it a bit to get over your head. Right. That's the mask on. Let's do a pressure check. It seems I've got a leak somewhere, so maybe I've not got it quite on tight enough. Let's tighten those bottom straps up a bit. I hope that's not the voice diaphragm leaking. It seems I've got a leak in the voice diaphragm, so this mask wouldn't actually work, so I don't know why that's happened, but... yeah, there's definitely a leak in the voice diaphragm, so I might see if I can disassemble that. But to give you some impressions of the mask, certainly not uncomfortable. The oral nasal cup bit's a bit tight on my nose, but otherwise it's not too bad. Field of view is very good, but as said, if the mask's sat a bit closer to your eyes, you get a slightly better field of view still. And overall, yeah, quite good. So obviously Russia, I think now supplies these to, not as like an actual firefighter's mask, but I think to emergency services as kind of like an NBC response mask if they need them, because obviously it is very well made. But obviously what I would like to do is try and get this oral nasal cup apart, not oral nasal cup, sorry, the voice diaphragm apart, and see if I can work out why that's not working properly. It could be that the like little bit of plastic in there or whatever has split. I'm just trying to see with my actual... I'll tell you what, if I take the oral nasal cup off of the inside of the mask, that will at least mean that I can get at this bit easier. So, let's take that out. As you can see, oral nasal cup. I think something else just fell off then, but there's probably that little valve that sits there. That just holds on via a peg there, so that's, you know, nice and simple. So, let's have a look and see if we can work out why the voice diaphragm is leaking. Maybe there is not actually... I can see the plastic sheet in there, so maybe that's just got damaged. But, yeah. How well that will show up on the camera, I don't know, but that is where the plastic sheet is for the voice diaphragm. So I'm assuming there might be a little puncture in there. I can't actually see if there is or not, but it also could be actually that there's a gap around side of the rubber here, because it seems like you can actually pull this out of the mask. So yeah, that's odd. That's a bit annoying, but as I said, they are replaceable if they do break. There's the sort of metal key bit there to undo that, but that's not coming off easily. But yeah, overall this does seem to be a very good mask. A voice diaphragm, I can see some little tears in the voice diaphragm looking at it from this angle. So obviously that's just been punctured at some point. As I have said before, I think in videos, voice diaphragms can be one of the weakest parts of a mask because you need a thin membrane to vibrate to make sound go through properly. That was just a little bit that fell off, which I think is meant to go in there. As you've got, you know, like that membrane that's designed to vibrate, if something goes wrong with that, that can be, you know, where, oh no, that's the other little bit there. If there becomes a rip in that, then that can cause a problem. So let me just reassemble the oral nasal cup to show you me putting that back in. Obviously I can't do a test of this until I find a way of replacing the oral voice diaphragm, because it simply won't work without the voice diaphragm being replaced, because gas will just get in through there. But overall, yes, I am impressed with the quality of this. Any mask that's a bit old can obviously have a rip in it. I don't know how well the last owner of this mask looked after it. You know, well, it's going to be third hand, because obviously I bought it from somebody who was selling off some surplus, so that they'd obviously had in their own collection. So what obviously happened is it's sort of third hand at least by this point, so you know, you can expect some wear and tear on parts. But overall, yeah, I am impressed with the GP-9. As I said, I've got plenty of modern masks that work if I need one, so I don't always get these masks getting, you know, to actually expect to be able to use them. But overall, it does seem to be a very good design. I don't think there's any particular flaw with this one's voice diaphragm, to be perfectly honest. I think it is just wear and tear from, you know, use and abuse of a mask, really. Yes, some masks have better voice diaphragms than others, but to be honest, I think on all my other Soviet masks, I've never had any that have actually needed repairing. So yeah, overall, I am impressed with it, even if this particular one wouldn't work. There's little bits that could be improved on it, you know, like a better plastic seal system around here, but I know there is an updated design of this mask now. But for a mask that the Soviets designed, you know, right before the collapse of the Soviet Union, it's pretty well made, actually. Certainly a lot better than the GP-7 and PMK-1, I will say that.